No doubt you've been house hunting in Fallout before, looking for a perfect spot to settle down and call your own. How many times have you found a location where you thought, hey, this could make a pretty cool home? Well, that's what we wanted to explore. What is the best real estate you can find in Fallout? And what's the worst? We'll weigh them by a few key things. Safety, because you need that barrier against the mutated creatures and horrors in the Wasteland. And then amenities. Do we have things we need like food, water, a bed, entertainment, or a mug that can talk to you? The community. Would you really want to live with a bunch of whiny, potty-mouthed kids? And of course, the X factor. What makes this place special in a wasteland full of interesting and unique locations? By the end, we'll crown one spot in the Fallout universe as the best real estate. But really, it's all subjective. I might enjoy living in a place like Rivet City, and you might think it's a rusted tin can with a bunch of holes in it. If you enjoy Fallout, then you're in the right place. There is so much Fallout content on this channel that you could sink your teeth into, and a lot more to come. So consider subbing if you're into that kind of thing. We also have a Discord going where we talk about Fallout, share art, and just hang out. So join us with a link in the description. Thanks for watching and enjoy the vid. Our first section is remote retreats, but remote is subjective, and to us it means just being away from the chaos, fortifying yourself above the riffraff and staying out of harm's way. A place where you can feel safe and secure, but sometimes this comes with big drawbacks. The sink might be one of the most remote areas in the entire series, trapped within a crater on a mountain and surrounded by a security fence. The inside works like a compact apartment built out of old lab rooms, with a living room and a bedroom, plus a small kitchen area on the side, and a space for crafting. Everything is close together, so it's easy to move around without wasting time. It feels super efficient, to be honest. You even get a nice view with the balcony that looks over the crater. And this place is super unique. All of your appliances and the machines in your home can actually speak to you. You do need to find these personality chips around Big MT to get them going, but once they're active, they'll talk to you and help with different jobs. The crafting space has both major workstations with storage right above them. The kitchen area uses the biological research station, which turns plant samples into salient green, so you can make ingredients whenever you need them. There's also a fridge and a hot plate, so the room works like a small kitchen. The auto dock is probably the strongest medical setup you can actually have in a home. It heals you and clears addictions, and it also takes care of radiation when you need it. It can change your appearance, fix your hair, and it can also install special implants. But I should point out that while the healing is always free, the implants will cost you caps. Every container in the entire apartment is safe for storage. The light switches can boost certain skills for hours, and Muggy produces a batch of crafting parts each day. The sink can even fill empty bottles with clean water once it's upgraded. Then you have the sink's central intelligence unit, which acts as your built-in vendor and repair option, restocking like any other merchant when enough time has passed. Most of you are probably thinking this sounds pretty incredible, and it kinda does. But living here definitely has its problems. First of all, you can't bring companions with you, since you need a transportal ponder, which is pretty much a one woman or man trip. But what might be considered the worst part of this location is actually the crater outside. This place is a literal mad scientist resort and sandbox. The most vile and repugnant creatures have actually spawned from the projects here, and a lot of them are still around. You also have to deal with the think tank, the scientists who were part of all of these experiments. More than likely, you'd probably just end up as a lobotomite here. The sink is also far from, well, everything, but also New Vegas and the Mojave, so using it as your primary home would add a lot of extra travel time. That said, if you basically conquered Big MT and its horrors, and you're now the king of the mountain, this is honestly one of the best places you could live in the Wasteland. Safety for this one is tough, because outside of the sink, you're facing down some of the worst creatures you could find in the Wasteland. There's also no escape if you can't teleport out. But if you do have everything you need and you're set up good in the actual sink, you really don't have to worry about anything from the outside. Absolutely nothing can get to you. But we also have to account for your organs getting stolen. I mean, you are fine, but are you really? So I gave it a B+. If we were talking about living in Big MT without the sink, it would be a hard F. This category gets an obvious A+. Healing, clean water, plant cloning, crafting, breakdowns, face changes, daily parts, and full storage. I mean, what else can you really ask for? The only things that cost caps are implants and buying items from the SCIU, which is normal for any trader, except now the merchant is right in your home. The entire apartment acts like a science hub designed for the courier, and no other home in the Mojave stacks this many helpful features in one spot. The community here is an interesting one. The machines do give the place some personality, and it keeps it from feeling empty. You've got Muggy, the toaster, the light switches, the book chute, the jukebox, and the SEIU, and they all chat with you and react to your progress. And they're all pretty cool and unique. But they aren't really neighbors, and the sink isn't part of a town. The think tank is the closest thing you get, and they literally never shut up. And they're kind of evil, depending on your view of things. So for that reason, I gave it a C. For this one, I mean, we have to go with an A+, right? I don't think there's anything like the sink in the entire world. Maybe the Institute, but it's still a lot different. Yes, the area around you is an actual hell zone, but the sink is like an oasis in a desert. Everything you need is here and more. It's insanely unique.
The Lucky 38 is the kind of place you can see from almost anywhere in New Vegas. It towers above the Strip, absolutely iconic and nostalgic to pre-war luxury and power. Before the bombs, it was just another casino, one built by Robert House, the billionaire who ran Robco Industries. But after the Great War, the Lucky 38 became something else entirely. It became a fortress. This is a command center, in the most exclusive penthouse in the Mojave. No one's allowed inside except Mr. House, and whoever he invites in, which for 200 years meant absolutely nobody. The place stayed locked up, lights still on, and untouched by looters or scavengers. It's one of the few pre-war buildings that's almost completely intact. When the courier finally steps in, it's like walking into a time capsule that never aged. If you walk around, you'll find that the penthouse, of course, sits at the very top, the crown of the Strip. 2 floors, circular layout filled with furniture, and a massive console where Mr. House appears to talk through his monitors. The space itself feels eerily quiet though, and weirdly immaculate. You'd expect this place to be dusty and filled with cobwebs, but there's no dust, just polished metal and pre-war decor. You can actually sleep in the bed, store gear in the safes, soak in the 360-degree views, wander around like you own the place, which eventually you might. If you side with Yes Man and take control of the Strip, he literally uploads himself into Mr. House's main console. From that moment on, you can command the Securitron army from the same chair House once used to control New Vegas. There's also a hidden terminal behind a staircase that opens a secret elevator to the control room. Once House is gone, Jane disappears and the place becomes strangely quiet. It's one of the few locations in the Mojave where nearly everything is marked as unowned, meaning you can take whatever you want without losing karma. Whether this was a developer oversight issue, I don't know for sure, but I do think it's more realistic since House wouldn't really care anyway. The whole penthouse becomes your private domain, and you can collect and store gear here or just use it as your headquarters while the rest of New Vegas fights for power below. It's also worth noting how isolated it really is. There are no windows that open and no visitors are welcome. The entire casino is sealed off from the Strip, which makes this the safest place in the Mojave, and also the loneliest. House designed it that way because he didn't trust anyone. And when you go upstairs, you're surrounded by glowing screens and the mechanical servants. It's easy to see how he lost touch with the world on a human level. But we're here for real estate. The Lucky 38 penthouse might be the most valuable piece of property in New Vegas. It's completely self-contained. I mean, just look around at the power and the working systems. We have robotic security and a 360-degree view of the city. There's no risk of raider attacks and no competition. If remote safety and luxury are the goal, this is the top of the list and ranks an A+. The building hasn't been breached in over 200 years. It's fully powered with robots at your beck and call, and it's climate controlled, a rare combo in the Mojave which makes this deserving of an A+ in amenities. I'd even say it's the best location on the Strip with full access to Securitron Command if you take over. The functionally infinite storage and living space for one person is also quite appealing. But as we mentioned before, it's also total isolation, which means the community ranks an F since you're kind of alone. I mean, I guess you're technically with robots, but even still. And it's heavily dependent on pre-war tech, so if something breaks, it likely stays broken. And let's not forget you're living inside someone else's dream of control. But that dream is pretty badass and still deserves an X Factor rating of an A+. The Lucky 38 isn't just a penthouse though. This place is a metaphorical throne room, and it deserves an A- on our list. Whether you rule as House's successor, a courier with an agenda, or just someone looking for peace, you can see everything in Vegas, but no one can see you.
I think the Prydwen could be considered remote depending on where you park the thing. It's so far off the ground that the only way to get to it is a vertibird. It's a huge Brotherhood airship moored over Boston Airport last time we saw it. It was built after the Enclave was defeated at Adams Air Force Base. The hull carries steel plating, internal gas bags, and a fusion reactor that moves the ship through the sky. The flight deck handles vertibirds, and the command deck contains Maxon's observation room and the bridge. The main deck in the center is where all the daily regular stuff goes on. That part of the ship includes the mess hall, the clinic, the power armor bays, the armory, research rooms, and the quarters for the officers. If you side with the Brotherhood and complete blind betrayal, you'll gain a room close to Maxon's with a good bed and some storage. So you can definitely live here. The Prydwen really looks like a beast, and more than likely is one. Steel plates protect the interior, and 5 hydrogen gas bags inside the hull keep it supported. The fusion plant drives the propellers and large thrusters. There aren't any large weapons mounted on the ship, so it mostly relies on vertibird crews and armored knights for offense. I would say that it's unlikely that we ever really need an offense in this thing, but seeing the trailers for the new season of the show, that kind of changes. But this giant gas bag is pretty perfect though. There is also a long-term task from Proctor Ingram that has you dealing with reactor coolant, since the reactor needs steady supplies to stay stable. If the coolant falls too low, they talk about grounding the ship before lift fails. And in extreme cases, it could come down with force. That would be pretty bad for everyone living on this ship. I wouldn't say life aboard the Prydwen is comfortable. It serves as the Brotherhood's command base and supply point. So everyone is on a tight schedule and everyone's got a job to do. The central deck holds stacked bunks, a rotating mess hall, a small recreation area with drinks, and space is limited and privacy doesn't really exist. Senior Scribe Naraya runs her research room where she studies creature samples and synth components. Proctor Ingram oversees the power armor stations. Proctor Quinlan checks every field report brought to him. Knight Captain Cade manages the clinic and treats injured members. And Proctor Tegan sells supplies in the armory. So if you do prefer structure and constant work, then this would be the place for you. But if you want your own space and peace and quiet, then definitely not. I think living here also changes your opinion according to your rank. If you're just a grunt in the Brotherhood taking up one of the bunk beds, this is probably going to feel like hell. I mean, I guess it's better than finding some abandoned building in the wastes, but at least you have some freedom there. If you're a high-ranking member that gets their own room, like the sole survivor, then yeah, this would be really nice. The Prydwen earns an A- for safety. Inside the hull, you have trained soldiers and armored knights covering the walkways, with scribes focused on support nearby. The plates around the center add protection, and engineering teams keep the system stable. You won't really have to deal with any regular Wasteland enemies or creatures up here. The danger would come from large attacks or major sabotage attempts. A strong strike can send it down. I mean, we've seen it before with other endings in the game. Also, if the coolant or something fails with the engineering, then it might be time to bail. So for that reason, I couldn't give it a higher score. Amenities score an A. You get access to nearly every major workstation, a clinic with Cade, a vendor with Brotherhood gear, and a private room with safe storage after your promotion. You also get fast vertibird access and can get anywhere quickly. The drawback is lack of freedom and privacy. To be on this ship, you're gonna have to join the Brotherhood, and that comes with a lot. Community earns a B. If you support the Brotherhood's outlook, you're surrounded by people who share it. Maxon and Kells are focused on command, and key personnel like Ingram, Quinlan, Cade, and Tegan run their sections. Squires and soldiers handle patrols. But what you won't get is a relaxed environment. It's a strict military space. If you have any synth or mutant friends, they aren't going to be treated here nicely. The Prydwen is an A for X Factor. How often do you see or even live inside a large airship? You can walk past vertibirds on the deck, move through power armor stations, and see officers handling operations. This thing is a literal mobile command base tied to one of the most powerful factions in the entire Wasteland. It doesn't get more badass than this.
The Atom Cat's garage sits on the far edge of the Commonwealth, right where a pre-war Red Rocket gas station once stood. And today it's more than a scrap metal clubhouse. It's this greaser type of lit up shrine to power armor culture. Part auto shop and part hangout spot where you'd light up a cigarette. It's a time capsule of a world where chrome mattered more than survival, and it has this illustrious American type of vibe. The crew who runs the place calls themselves the Atom Cats, a gang of wasteland greasers who worshipped horsepower and the freedom of the open road. Rolling up to the garage feels like stumbling into a post-apocalyptic car show that never quite died. The lights hum and there's always someone welding or doing American type of shit you'd see in the 1950s. Rowdy, the reigning master mechanic, runs the power armor bay. She's the one who sells the Atom Cats' iconic custom paint job. Blue Jay takes care of general supplies, the weapons, the armor, and all that stuff, while the rest of the crew lounges around shooting the shit. Inside, the garage feels alive in a way most Wasteland buildings don't. A pool table sits beside a makeshift bar stocked with beer. Somehow clean water can be scarce, but cold drinks are infinite. Tools and car parts and half-finished projects clutter every corner, and Peepers, the friendly iBot, floats on a constant patrol broadcasting Adam Cat's radio and adding to the retro future atmosphere. Look closely and you realize this place actually has layers. There are tapes from the Adam Cat's poetry nights scattered around where members read pieces about brotherhood and machines.
Alright, cats. I call this one Metal Heart. Metal legs. Metal arms. Metal heart. Tool of war. Tool of peace. Tool of art. I get.
There's a racetrack outside that hints at cut drag race content from pre-release developments. Even Zeke's terminal has little notes documenting the gang's history and their philosophy. Despite all this coolness, it's clear these people care about each other and about keeping the spirit of the old world alive. From a real estate perspective, this place is a treasure chest for gearheads alike. 2 fully functional power armor bays stand ready. A weapon bench and armor workbench sit powered and operational. Outside, a fusion core sits freely accessible in a generator. And you can even snag an unarmed bobblehead and an issue of Hot Rodder in a nearby trailer decorated with 2 pink flamingos. The Adam Cats also tie into the local life. They help Warwick Homestead with a busted water pump, one of the only quests in the Commonwealth with the genuine community helper type of mission. Earn their trust and Zeke will hand over his beloved Adam Cat's jacket and jeans. Duke, one of the scouts, shows up in random encounters across Boston, usually scavenging parts beneath collapsed highways or rusting cars. He'll even mark their garage on your map if you don't know where to find it. I mention all this because the community is stronger here than most places and it deserves an A+. But like any property out here, it's not flawless. There's no food and only one unowned bed, which isn't ideal if you're looking for a permanent home, so amenities are a C. If you're not into greaser slang or constant bragging, the Cats' larger-than-life personalities might wear on you. And gunner raids aren't uncommon, so you'll occasionally see your neighbors jump into powered armor and launch a counterattack that shake the whole building. It's exciting but not exactly peaceful, making security a D. Still, what makes the Adam Cat's garage truly special is the authenticity. These people aren't raiders or survivalists. Well, maybe they're survivalists, but they don't act like it in a needy sense. They're wasteland artisans with a sense of humor, a love for style, and an attitude built around brotherhood. They add color to a gray world. They fix machines they consider beautiful. They toast to a past they never lived in but still feel connected to. And they do it all with a swagger that makes the garage feel more like a sanctuary than a settlement. So the X factor here is an A+. I mean, just look at this place. I feel cool just talking about it. If Tenpenny Tower is high-class luxury and Diamond City is middle-class hustle, then the Adam Cat's garage is pure blue-collar rebellion with a heart. It's loud and unapologetically itself. In a wasteland full of fear and scarcity, the best real estate isn't always about safety though. It's about soul. And the Adam Cats have soul. I personally would give this place a B in our overall ranking score.
These aren't your typical buy a house, settle down, raise a family options. They're extreme. Big MT is for the mad scientist. The Lucky 38 is for the kingpin. The Prydwen is for the soldier. And the Adam Cat's garage is for the wasteland hipster. It's a take yourself out of the equation type of vibe. Fortresses that will keep you safe from the basic horrors of the wasteland, but you can't always run from your fate. Not every property in Fallout is a cozy vault or a little settlement with a bomb in the middle of it. Some locations defy all logic, glamorous on the outside, but cursed on the inside.
The Sierra Madre was supposed to be a paradise, a luxury casino and resort built in the mountains, bathed in gold light and sealed away from the chaos of the outside world. Before the bombs fell, it was the crown jewel of the Mojave, a place where the wealthy could gamble, drink, and forget that the world was ever crumbling. But when the sirens started and the gates sealed, the lights began to dim, and the dream froze in time. Now, 200 years later, it still stands, untouched, the world's most beautiful prison. Approaching it from afar feels like walking into a mirage. The air turns red heavy with toxic cloud, and your Pip-Boy crackles with interference. When you finally step through the gates, you realize the Sierra Madre isn't just a casino though, it's a mausoleum. The music still plays and the holograms still patrol, and every slot machine still waits for a player who's never coming back. It's a pre-war fantasy preserved in amber, with the illusion of wealth flickering against a backdrop of death. The casino floor is immaculate, frozen mid-spin. Roulette wheels gleam under soft amber light, and the cashier's counter still stands where holographic attendants shimmer like ghosts. The upper lounge once hosted laughter and music, and we can imagine the clink of champagne glasses toasting in the background. Now, the only sound is the hum of electricity and the faint whisper of the cloud outside. Even the machines seem to sigh when you pass them, the sound of endless waiting. Somehow, this place works though, and against all odds, the Sierra Madre still functions. The vending machines hum and whir, and the casino games flicker back to life when the power is restored. Hologram dealers take their positions behind the tables and act as if the outside world never existed. You can actually gamble here too, though like everything in the Madre, winning comes with consequences. The reward for success isn't riches here, it's exile. Exploring deeper, you find that the casino's beauty hides a meticulous design meant to control, not entertain. Hidden emitters project lethal holographic guards, and if you destroy one, the others react instantly, as if the building itself knows what you're doing. The air vents hiss with vapor, the same poison mist that killed everyone who ever tried to escape. Behind the walls, there's a network of speakers and traps all linked to a single philosophy: luxury through obedience. And then there's the mastermind behind it all, Father Elijah. To him, the Sierra Madre wasn't a resort so much as it was a test, a vault of wealth and tech that could outlast civilization. He saw the casino as salvation through discipline and a way to rebuild humanity by forcing it to suffer first. He turned the place into a tomb, dragging you and others into his obsession. The chips and the collar around your neck, it's all part of his sermon. Begin again, he says, let go. But Elijah never let go himself. One of the best and worst parts of the Sierra Madre is that it worked. Its defenses are flawless. The power grid is still online. The casino is structurally perfect with sheer elegance. It's intact and unbroken after 2 centuries of decay. Even its holographic guards remain tireless, patrolling the marble floors like the souls of dead security staff. Everything here is eternal, but nothing is alive. When considering that, the community here has and always will feel hollowed out and empty. Thus, I'd have to give the community ranking an F. From a real estate perspective, it's hard not to be tempted though. The Sierra Madre is a fortress of comfort and artifice, untouched by time or looters. The technology alone, which is self-sustaining power, functioning air systems, and automated security, is priceless, so the amenities are an A. The excess here never degraded, and it's a glimpse of what the world was trying to become before it burned. Owning it would mean possessing one of the last intact symbols of pre-war grandeur. But that's the illusion, the same illusion that killed everyone who came before you. The Sierra Madre isn't luxury, it's greed given form. Every locked door and every table stacked with chips is bait for the desperate. Once you step inside, it doesn't let you go. The air itself here poisons you. The holograms will kill you. You'd be exiling yourself to a life on the edge here, so security too is an F rating. You're secure from the outside, but the inside is just as dangerous. So yes, on paper, it's perfect real estate since it's secure and beautiful, and even more amazingly, it's eternal. But in reality, it's also cursed by design. The pros are all surface level, which is safety and preservation, opulence and history. The cons are buried in the architecture itself, a lethal environment with poisoned air and sentient defenses, and the crushing silence of a paradise with no people. If you ask me, the Sierra Madre is the ultimate cautionary tale in Fallout's real estate portfolio. It's the dream that became a trap. The mansion that locked its doors too well, the casino that kept its guests forever. In terms of an X factor though, it's pretty damn cool. Can you imagine stumbling upon this place in the Wasteland? That's an A+ for me. The moral Father Elijah never understood was you can seal yourself off from the world, but you can't escape what you bring inside. So overall, this place ranks a C. The Sierra Madre didn't fall because of war or decay. It fell because its creator couldn't stop reaching for perfection and dragged everyone else down with him. In the last video we made about the best real estate, the Institute was mentioned, so you know we actually had to cover it in this one. Deep beneath the ruins of the Commonwealth lies something that shouldn't exist anymore, a city of white glass, a city of humming machinery and impossible light. The Institute could arguably be called a shelter, but it is more than a mere bunker or shelter. It's a civilization carved out of bedrock, a place where pre-war science didn't just survive the apocalypse, it evolved. To most surface dwellers, the Institute is a myth, or rather a conspiracy, a ghost story used to explain kidnappings, super mutants, and strange teleport flashes in the night. But step through the molecular relay and the truth is revealed that the Institute is indeed real and has been watching the surface for generations. Its origins are strangely humble. On the day the bombs fell, a handful of scientists and staff from the Commonwealth Institute of Tech retreated underground. Their children grew up in maintenance tunnels. Their grandchildren built laboratories and the first synth prototypes. By 2287, the Institute isn't a refuge though. It's a subterranean metropolis, an entire society that believes it has transcended the surface altogether. And if you ask me, it arguably has. The place is alive, but in an engineered, carefully measured type of way. At the heart of the hidden city is the concourse, a massive cylindrical atrium that feels like walking into the lobby of a utopia. 4 levels wrap around a central chamber of trees, fountains, robotic walkways, and a spiraling elevator that rises toward the teleportation platform. The divisions encircle it like districts in a futuristic mall, with robotics and bioscience, advanced systems, and the Synth Retention Bureau. Residential quarters branch off discreetly, and doors display the names of their occupants, because in the Institute, identity is recorded and heavily monitored. Every division reflects a different philosophy. Advanced Systems is the crown jewel with a maze of weapon prototypes with the physics labs, teleportation arrays, and Madison Lee's private workspace. Beyond a shimmering force field lies the entrance to the Institute reactor, a pre-war experimental nuclear system that effectively acts as the Institute's sun. Bioscience feels almost peaceful at first. Rows of hydroponic plants and genetic engineering pods can be found here. And then you realize there's synth animals grown in secret to test biological programming. Hidden behind sealed doors is the infamous FEV lab, where failed experiments led to the creation of the Commonwealth's super mutants. But in my opinion, robotics is where the Institute's true legacy is forged. In a massive chamber sits the synth assembler, endlessly constructing third-generation synths, being so human that they question their own existence. They climb out of glowing pools and walk into processing areas you can't follow. It is awe-inspiring and unsettling all at the same time, a factory making people as easily as tools. Old robotics, sealed and decaying, whisper to those that not every experiment ended cleanly. Sparking terminals next to hostile synths and forgotten equipment mark the Institute's cast-off failures. Then we have the Synth Retention Bureau that completes the cycle, the place where runaway synths are tracked, reclaimed, or in extreme and overly frequent cases, erased. To the Institute, this is public safety. To everyone else in the world outside, it's kidnapping. Justin runs the division with clinical precision, and coursers patrol the Commonwealth like ghosts, quiet and ruthless.
I am Father. Welcome to the Institute.
At the center of this secret world stands Father, the calm architect of the Institute's doctrine, and the shocking truth that he is your missing son, grown into an old man. To him, the surface is a failed branch of humanity. The Institute is the future. His people live in perfect safety, nourished by clean water and synthetic agriculture. Plus, they even have a nuclear power source immune to storms and radiation. It's easy to understand the appeal. Down here, nothing decays, nothing rusts. Days pass differently, and fast traveling to or from the Institute only advances time by a single minute. Even the chaos of the Wasteland seems muted and far away. From a real estate perspective, it's the most advanced habitat on Earth. It has hydroponics, climate control, energy independence, and robotic protection that makes Diamond City's security look like a neighborhood watch. Here, you'll never be cold or hungry. You'll never be irradiated, which is crazy to say in a fallout-ridden world. No settlement in the Commonwealth comes close to matching its stability or its comfort. But like we mentioned earlier in the video, perfection always has a price. These people created super mutants after all, and although they welcome you into their fold, their ethics are questionable. So the community could arguably be given a D ranking. But if you're more analytical than ethical, then maybe this doesn't matter, in which case it's an A ranking. But for the sake of the video, I'll meet you halfway here and we'll go with the B-. There's also no windows and no sunlight. If you like to see and experience different seasons, forget about it. Every inch of your life is scheduled and quietly evaluated. Curfew runs from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Not because of danger, but because structure is mandatory. Companions can't visit you here, and trade doesn't really exist. You can't wander freely outside. And underneath the clean floors and polite smiles, something colder pulses. The belief that the Institute is the rightful heir to humanity, and that everyone else, including wastelanders and ghouls and settlers and synths, they're just inferior. Their technology is miraculous, but their worldview is brittle. It's a paradise that requires silence and the willingness to live in a world without randomness or warmth. So is the Institute good real estate? Well, it is cool, and the X factor is an A+, and it's easily the safest location in the Fallout universe, which would also give it an A+. So on paper, it's unbeatable. The Institute is a self-sustaining city with nuclear power and synthetic agriculture, endless resources, and absolute protection. But in practice, it's the most isolated home in the Commonwealth, a place where comfort replaces freedom and safety becomes its own kind of confinement. The people here aren't warm, which gives it that isolating feeling. The Institute can be both a home and an overview of humanity that describes how we can survive without the sun, but at the cost of everything that makes life worth living.
I know. But hey, we did say wild cards, and what could be more wild than this, really? The Dunwich Building looks like a regular old office tower from a distance. But the second you walk inside, you'll learn why people in the capital Wasteland avoid this place like the plague. This place is falling apart, and it's full of feral ghouls. You'll head through rooms that still have old desks and ruined walls, and the deeper you go, the stranger everything gets. But look on the bright side. No one else will want to live here either. You could have the whole place to yourself after you take out all the ferals. Unless you're a ghoul. Then hey, The place comes with security and neighbors. There are 3 main areas. First is the entrance, where you pick up most of Jamie's early logs. He's a guy who came here before you and then went insane and then turned into a ghoul. It's a whole thing. After that, you reach the Forsaken Ruins, where the lighting gets worse and the hallways twist into lower rooms with more ghouls. As you go further, you'll start to notice one of the assets of this place: hallucinations and or visions. If that's something you're into, then this place comes pre-built for the transcendent type. Going even lower brings you to the virulent underchambers. This entire area sits inside a cave under the foundation, and the rocks open into a chamber with an obelisk in the center. A group of feral ghouls stand around the obelisk worshipping some long-forgotten demon or god, probably. Jamie is here too, completely gone though, facing the obelisk and holding a Chinese assault rifle. He isn't exactly friendly when you run into him though, but like I said, maybe that would change depending on if you're a ghoul or not. Around the building, you also see strange events. A door opens on its own and objects fall off desks when no one touches them. It's truly a waking nightmare. And I know this all sounds pretty bad, but there are some pros. 1, you get to live in isolation as soon as you battle the hordes of ghouls. 2, well, I couldn't really think of a 2. Let's be honest, this is one of the worst places you can walk into in the capital Wasteland. There are feral ghouls living in every hallway, the lighting is terrible, and the ghost and cult stuff make it pretty hard to tell what the hell is going on. The cherry on top is that there's no stable ground outside either. The building literally looks like it's about to collapse. There's absolutely nothing here for the living. No food, no water, no beds, no storage you'd trust, and no secure rooms. It's just a ruined office building with blocked halls and broken equipment. You might also find yourself wandering downstairs, sucked into a trance with the obelisk pulling you in. The only neighbors you deal with are feral ghouls or Jamie after he turns. The voices, footsteps, and visions don't really help either. I thought my angle of a ghoul living here might change this rating, but I'm pretty sure Jamie would still turn on anyone. I mean, this is one of the most unique locations in the capital Wasteland. Maybe Fallout in general. It's got ghouls, ghosts, cults, hallucinations, crumbling walls, body parts, everything you need for a sweet Halloween party. Hopefully, our next place can step it up. Welcome to the Republic of Dave, which sits all the way out in the far northeast corner of the capital Wasteland. And if you've never been there before, well, to sum it up nicely, it's like someone went out to their backyard and claimed it as a country. The entire place is a fenced patch of land with a few buildings, some Brahmin, a museum dedicated to Dave, and a school where all the teachings is about Dave. He's the leader and the man the entire settlement is built around. Before it became Republic, this same land went through a long list of names under different rulers. You have people like Larry, Stevie Ray, and Tom. Dave was the son of Tom. He left, but eventually came back and pushed out his father and said that the community needed voting, a democracy. That's how it became what it is now. Truth is, Dave just wanted the power for himself. There's a Capitol building, a museum filled with things Dave decided are important, and sleeping quarters split between men and women. Shauna runs the school and she teaches Dave's children stories about how great he is, including some over-the-top stuff about his childhood. Even the government offices have made-up titles, like the Bureau of Dave-like Activities, the Immigration Bureau, and the Tourism Office. The Immigration Bureau only matters when you or maybe some guests might show up, since you actually need Dave's approval to stay. You can get in by saying you want asylum, but depending on what you say, he might ask for a fee. A golden ticket, you might say. But you can skip all of that and talk him into believing you're an ambassador from the Wasteland. Every adult here is connected to Dave through family, and all the kids are his children too. Bob is his oldest son and acts as his second in command. Rosie and Jessica are both his wives, since one of the changes he made when he took over was dropping the old marriage rules and claiming it was part of his duty to rebuild the population. Most people just go along with whatever he says because they've lived under his setup for all their lives. Outsiders who don't follow his rules get told they have a day to leave or they're executed, and he doesn't really joke about it. The elections are where things get interesting. You show up during an election year and Dave is acting like everything is fair and open. Then you'll notice he's the only dude running, and everyone will vote for him unless you convince them to do something different. Living in this settlement means staying under Dave's rules, and he likes structure. But the place does have a small farm, a Brahmin pen, and 4 main buildings and 1 gate. If you did live here, you would have a bed and some food. You'd probably have some chores to do like any other settlement, and all you'd have to do is grovel for Dave's approval, or take over the town and become the next dictator or savior. I mean, it's alright. They at least have a fence and some security. But any large group of enemies like a band of raiders or super mutants will probably overrun this place quick. And you also have to deal with Dave. If he decides he doesn't like you one day, you'll either be exiled or executed. It's not ideal. This settlement has the basics: beds, small farm, fence, and a few simple buildings. But there's no doctor, no benches you can work from, and no entertainment. It runs, but it's bare bones. Most of what exists here is for Dave's comfort and his version of a government, not for practical living. Everyone here mostly respects each other. They help with the farming, learning, guarding the gate, and keeping things on track. Most of them treat visitors politely, as long as those visitors treat Dave with respect. Dave could make it pretty unbearable though. It always leads back to him, doesn't it? So far, we haven't seen anything else quite like the Republic of Dave. It's a micro-nation with its own school, museum, voting process, government offices, and a leader who really believes he runs a country. But dictators in the Wasteland are probably a dime a dozen, and usually they have something a little better than some chain-link fences. These are obviously some weird-ass places to live. The Sierra Madre is gorgeous but lethal. The Institute is futuristic but oppressive. The Dunwich Building is haunted as hell, and the Republic of Dave is a dictatorship. But hey, one man's creepy haunted cult dungeon is another man's creepy haunted cult dungeon, except they like it.
Not everyone wants a city or a flying fortress. Some Wastelanders just want a front door that locks and a chair that doesn't collapse so that they can cozy on up away from the danger that lurks outside. These are Fallout's most personal homes. They're small and quiet. Often, they're just on the edge of danger. Sanctuary Hills is more than a simple settlement. This place is home, or at least it used to be. Before the Great War, this small cul-de-sac was the kind of place you'd see in an old Vault-Tec commercial and one that is reminiscent of 1950s Americana. Picture white picket fences stretched across yards with fresh paint lingered in the air, and we even had neighbors who waved at each other over the morning paper, which is something we don't see much these days in real life, and particularly not in Fallout's future. Every house here followed the House of Tomorrow design where chrome appliances shone brightly. It was the American dream made suburban, perched on a little island surrounded by Misty Lake, and for the sole survivor, it was where it all began. At 9:47 a.m. on October 23rd, 2077, that dream died. The radio screamed of detonations in New York while the sky went white over Boston and Sanctuary's residents sprinted for Vault 111. At least the lucky few who had reservations anyway. The rest never made it. The neighborhood froze in time that morning with its coffee still warm and its front doors left swinging open. 200 years later, when the sole survivor steps back onto that same cracked road, the air feels heavy with deja vu.
But of course I'm still here. Surely you don't think a little radiation could deter the pride of General Atomics International?
Codsworth is still humming around, greeting you like no time has passed. The houses are skeletons of what they were, with roofs caved in and furniture burned down to splinters. But the layout hasn't changed. It's a ghost suburb that still remembers its shape. Sanctuary's geography makes it feel strangely isolated. The main road curls into a loop, ending in a cul-de-sac where the pre-war families once parked their Corvegas. There's the footbridge north to Vault 111, the road south toward the Red Rocket, and a handful of half-collapsed homes that can still be scavenged for safes and first aid kits. Behind one house in particular, you'll even find a cellar that tends to go missed on first playthroughs. It's a makeshift shelter dug by a man who never got a Vault reservation. Poor bastard. Everywhere you look, there are traces of the old residents. Even their mailboxes survived, some with their names still painted on in fading white letters. When the Minutemen refugees arrive with the likes of Preston Garvey, Sanctuary becomes something new. The Commonwealth's first reborn settlement. Sturgis rebuilds the houses, rigging generators and water pumps. Marcy complains, which counts as tradition by now. Trash can Carla sometimes rolls in with her caravan, and Codsworth still keeps the lawns clean of radioactive leaves. If you invest in it, Sanctuary can grow into one of the most functional bases in Fallout 4. There's room for crops along the river, space for turrets on the bridge, and a central workshop that serves as the beating heart of your new town. The crafting stations for armor and weapons are all within a short walk from the spawn point too. It's convenient, and in its own way poetic. You started your journey here, and you can end it here too. But living in Sanctuary is bittersweet. The quiet hits different when you know what it used to sound like. Every rusted tricycle and collapsed porch tells you what was lost hundreds of years ago. Even the soundtrack plays with your memory. The past and present overlap here more than anywhere else in Fallout. From a real estate perspective, Sanctuary Hills is an incredible starter home. It's safe from raiders, near key travel routes, filled with resources, and filled with good people, which is a factor that many locations don't give you, and for that reason, the community is an A+, and the amenities are a B+. The location offers water access and plenty of buildable space. You have autonomy and a blank canvas, which is a rare combo in the Wasteland. But the cons are emotional if you put your place in our Vault Dweller's shoes. Sanctuary's isolation means slow trade growth and limited defense without heavy investment. Attacks could potentially come from all directions. North from Vault 111, south over the bridge, east along the river, the sky. Kidding about the sky, but theoretically it isn't the safest spot on our list today, and for that reason I'd give it a B. The houses themselves are mostly cosmetic. No matter how much you repair them, they'll never look quite right. And there's the melancholy of it all. The creeping sensation that this was once a perfect suburb before the bombs fell. Every new structure you build sits on the bones of someone else's dreams. So unfortunately, the X Factor leaves much to be desired and ranks a C+. Sanctuary Hills is the Fallout universe's most personal address. It's not just where the story starts, it's where the world ends and begins again. For players who value roots and memory, there's no better plot of land. But for those who can't live with ghosts, even the nicest cul-de-sac can feel like a graveyard. Overall, this place deserves a B+. The Tops is New Vegas showmanship at its finest. Swing music bounces in the air and cigarette smoke fills the halls, and Benny's smooth talk whispers in your ear. When you walk in, you don't just hear the strip, you feel it. The clatter of chips, the croon of Sinatra, the laughter echoing off marble floors. It's a slice of the old world rebuilt by men who never saw it but refused to let it die, which is weirdly similar to the Atom Cats themselves that we just covered. Before the Great War, this was a high-end casino competing with the Ultra Luxe and Gomorrah for the title of Vegas's most iconic stop. Afterward, when the city rose from the ashes under Mr. House's protection, the Tops was handed over to a tribe of Wasteland survivors who reinvented themselves as the chairman, all suits and slicked hair with mobster charm. They rebuilt the casino from the ground up, draping the Mojave in velvet and pretending the world hadn't ended. And if the casino is their crown, the presidential suite is the jewel. It's an entire apartment carved out for high rollers. Or for Benny, the man who once ran the chairman and put a bullet in the courier's head. Getting the key to the suite is a story in itself. You either charm it from Benny, take it off his corpse, or lift it from one of the bodyguards. No matter how you get it, the moment that elevator door opens, you can feel the shift. The noise of the casino fades and the hum of quiet decadence takes over. It's another world here. The suite itself is sprawling. A wide open living room greets you first, decorated with faded mid-century glamour. Pool table, leather couches, a bar stocked with liquor that's older than most of the Mojave's inhabitants, it's all here. There's a dining area and a meeting room fit for a small army of gangsters. A kitchen with twin refrigerators, 2 bathrooms, and a master bedroom with a queen-size bed, and a desk scattered with half-finished notes and briefcases. Behind the bar, you'll find a wall safe that's locked but usable for storage. Everything you stash here stays put, safe from the chaos of the strip below. It's comfortable beyond belief, and it's away from crime, so security and amenities are an A+. It's easy to imagine the suite in its prime. The night Benny ruled from here, planning his play against Mr. House, maybe sipping whiskey while plotting the future of Vegas. You can almost hear the hum of the Aces Theater downstairs, the applause for Tommy's axe, the clinking of glasses in the restaurant. But like everything on the strip, it's all an illusion, one kept alive by neon and nostalgia. Beneath all this charm, the Tops carries an undercurrent of deceit. Benny's workshop is just a few floors below, hidden behind a broken wall that leads to a secret vault corridor. It's where he stashes Yes Man, the AI that would one day help the courier rewrite the balance of power in the Mojave. The suite itself is a perfect reflection of that duality, glamour and betrayal under one roof. You can decorate, store your weapons, and use it as your personal base, but you can't fully shake the feeling that it belonged to someone else's story. For all that, as a home, it's surprisingly practical. You're in the center of the strip, with instant access to the casinos and the traders below, and you have the fastest route to the Lucky 38 or Gomorrah. The elevator is private with security and is airtight, and your suite sits above the noise, literally and figuratively. Everything you need is a few steps away. The food, the drinks, the weapons, if you've convinced Swing to let you keep them, and endless entertainment. You can even get that faint smell of pre-war air conditioning, cold and perfect when needing to get away from the Vegas sun. From our HGTV perspective, the Tops presidential suite is prime property with a dangerous history. It's safe and filled with luxury, but it's also the scene of a power struggle that changed New Vegas forever. For a player who enjoys being at the heart of the strip, this is as central as it gets. You're surrounded by wealth and temptation, with the conveniences of civilization just downstairs, and it has that X Factor flair, giving it an A ranking. But the cons are as sharp as Benny's smile. Privacy is an illusion here. You're never far from the chairman's eyes, and the walls might as well have ears. The suite's luxury is skin deep. Behind the polished chrome is the same decay that eats through every Vegas dream. And morally speaking, you're living in the apartment of the man who tried to kill you, a fact that's hard to ignore when you pass his old bedroom door. For that reason, the company isn't pleasant, and we'd have to rank the immediate community a D. Still, for a courier who craves the spotlight, there's nowhere better. So overall, we'd give this place a B+. The Lucky 38 is for rulers, and the Top's presidential suite, that's for legends who like their empire with a side of jazz.
The next two were mentioned a lot in the comments on the last video, which does make a lot of sense. The Whitespring Resort is a huge pre-war hotel with long steps leading to the front doors, and lawns that still look kept up by old maintenance routines. It is insanely rare to find something like this in the Waste. You'll also see Protectrons moving around the outside, patrolling some guard routes. Then the responders settled here in 2104, and they turned the main part of the resort into the Whitespring Refuge, which used the old hotel layout for the needs of survivors coming in from all over Appalachia and even the pit. The first thing you'll notice is how clean the whole structure is. The robot staff still handles most jobs, so vendor bots, janitor units, and security machines move through the halls at all hours. The responders set up their own desks and stations around the lobby and nearby rooms, and the refuge has become a base for people passing through. Orlando works as the face of management, speaking on behalf of the old owners who claim they're still alive, but unable to handle anything directly. Rucker and the other responders help run day-to-day needs of the place. They added food stations, rest areas, and meeting spots around the existing hotel layout, while keeping the robotic staff active in their roles. I don't think anybody here interacts with the Enclave bunker under the main structure, or they just don't realize what's under their feet. The resort is big, and you'll get lost here for sure, but over time, you'll settle into a routine fast. The mall area is packed with shops staffed by different factions, and the Artisans Corner has workbenches you can use for gear, crafting, and repairs. The floors above have dining rooms, ballrooms, and hallways, still kept in shape by these hotel robots. Refuge workers and travelers use rooms throughout the building, while the responders gather in large halls where they need space for tasks and planning. If you decided to live here, the biggest draw is no doubt just how stable it is. You don't have to defend it or repair anything. The robot guards and security systems are the ones doing everything, unless someone attacks them. The refuge staff welcomes wanderers, and there's a steady flow of people coming in for help or training. You're surrounded by activity, but it's all kept scheduled and managed, something you'll never really see anywhere else. I mean, this place really feels like a paradise, a port in the storm. The Whitespring is incredibly safe, thanks to the robot guards and security, and also the responders. You have a large community of people here focused on the well-being of Wastelanders, and ready to defend that vision. You get workbenches, vendors from different groups, food, shelter, and robot services. The responders also added stations for refuge tasks and crafting needs. It's one of the best places to live in if you want everything close by. They even have a kitchen with robot cooks and butlers. This is amenity heaven, really. The refuge pulls in travelers, responders, and newcomers all looking for support. People will talk and trade and help each other, and the responder staff puts effort into keeping things steady. Even with the hotel robots doing most of the chores, the human side of the refuge keeps the place warm and alive. These are good people running this joint, and you also meet a lot of new people as well. You're living in a pre-war luxury resort that survived the bombs, still runs on automated systems, and now doubles as a responder headquarters. The structure hides a major Enclave bunker underneath it, which adds another layer to this whole thing. With its size and all the stuff going on, the Whitespring has to be one of the most interesting homes you could hope for. This might be the crowning jewel of settlements for me in Fallout. Not based on living standards, but by how unique and amazing it was to see for the first time. Rivet City sits in the far southeast part of the capital Wasteland, and it's pretty hard to miss because the whole settlement is built inside an old aircraft carrier stuck on the Potomac River. When you first walk up, a security intercom tells you to wait while the bridge extends, which already lets us know that these guys take safety seriously. The carrier used to be part of a dry dock setup before the war, and it had working farms and water systems built into it. After the Great War, the ship was left behind until a group of military scientists moved in. They cleared out the creatures inside and turned the science bay into their new base. More people arrived over time, and the settlement eventually grew into Rivet City. This place is full of workers, guards, and scientists, and it runs under a council system that was set up a long time ago. The current science team focuses on water research and repairs, and because of all the effort put into reclaiming supplies, Rivet City is known for producing clean food and solid scientific work. Life inside the carrier is busy. The science lab and hydroponic area keep people fed. The hangar deck has working shops, and the upper deck has places like the church, the clinic, and the Weatherly Hotel. The carrier also has an American history museum and a market that trades with other settlements. Finally, we have some entertainment going. Guards trained by Harkness and Lana Danvers keep the bridge secure, and they handle problems around the river. The community trades clean food for metal, tools, and anything they can't make themselves. This place isn't perfect. The people below work harder jobs and deal with rougher parts of the ship, while the people above have more stability and comfort. Rust issues also cause breathing problems around the settlement, and the structure constantly needs repairs. The council's definitely not perfect, but hey, it's no Dave's Republic. Rivet City is surrounded by water, has a controlled bridge, and is protected by trained guards. But the lower bow is still a problem because of mirelurks, and raider and mutant activity around the river is a constant threat. But inside the main decks, the patrols keep things fairly safe. Plus, the moat setup is pretty great, but this isn't an unbeatable setup. The carrier gives you access to a clinic, a hotel room with a bed, a church, steady food production, and a busy central market. There's also a science lab and a full set of working shops. Rivet City has everything you need, but it does all come at a price, so you are going to have to find work. This settlement works well because everyone has a job and follows a clear structure. Some friction exists between deck levels, but day-to-day life is relatively mundane. People are friendly, helpful, and focused on keeping the ship running. It's a supportive place if you can handle the noise and constant repairs. I mean, it's Rivet City. You won't find a settlement built into an aircraft carrier anywhere else. Probably. Going from Megaton to this beast was an incredible experience for the first time. Okay, so if we're going by the ratings and what day-to-day life would actually be like, it's crazy, but it actually looks like the Whitespring comes out on top. Well, I guess it's not that crazy, just look at it. You get safety from robots and security, real food, nice beds, workbenches, trade, and a steady stream of people who aren't trying to stab you, hopefully. It's well managed without you having to babysit it. And it still keeps that special factor, because you're living in a pre-war resort that's somehow still running. I mean, it still has green grass, for God's sake. For pure quality of life, it checks more boxes than anything else we talked about. That said, a lot of the runner-ups win in specific categories. The sink is the dream for someone who wants the best tools and don't care that they're alone with talking appliances. The Institute is for people who want max safety and tech, and they don't mind strict rules or some shady science. The Lucky 38 is perfect if you want to sit above everyone and run the strip like a boss. Rivet City and Sanctuary are for people who want more grounded cities with real work, real people, and that feeling of rebuilding something. None of these beat Whitespring as a balanced home, but each one does something better in its own lane. So if I had to stamp one spot as the best real estate in Fallout, it's Whitespring. But the right home still depends on who you are and what you like. Do you want to be a scientist with your own lab, a ruler in a tower, a soldier on an airship, or a neighbor in a half-fixed suburb? Whitesprings might take the crown on our list, but the real winner is whatever place you keep going back to between quests. So if you had to pick a place to settle down, where would you go and why? It's such an interesting question for this world, really. We appreciate you guys watching and supporting the channel. It really does mean a lot. So thank you. Don't forget to join the Discord and TikTok in the description. You can also follow me on Twitter. And remember, enjoy time is never wasted time, and I'll see you in the next.